It's a beautiful microphone. I feel like Elvis.
Sound like him.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome and Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
A simcha. It's a joyous event. It's wonderful to be here. I am Levi's brother, Rabbi Levi's brother. That's my claim to fame. Before we begin, I just want to say I'm not very familiar with everything that's going on here. The pictures look beautiful. It's exciting to be here. I remember a couple of years ago, my family and I were here for Simchas Torah. We were dancing, and at one point we brought the dancing with the Torahs outside, and Rabbi Levi said, let's go out to the front of the next door property. And we danced there, and the next year we were able to dance on the property. So God willing, next year we should dance in the new building. I heard, I can't guarantee this 100%. It's my understanding, Rabbi Levi confirmed that in the building there will be air conditioning, right? So here's the story. There was a rabbi who was retiring after 50 years in the rabbinate. And his congregation treated him to a trip, to a safari. Big group went out deep in the jungles of Africa. And suddenly they were surrounded by cannibals. And they were taken, they were tied up, and they were brought to a hideout in the forest. And a fire was built and a big cauldron put on boiling water. And everyone is looking to the rabbi, and the rabbi is shrugging his shoulders, and he thinks, and he says, 1 second, I'd like to talk to the chief. And he whispers something into the chief's ear. The chief nods and says, let them go. Let them go. And they ran for their lives, and they ran until they finally regrouped. And they turned to the rabbi and said, Rabbi, you saved us again, but how did you do it? What in the world did you tell him? He said, it's very simple. I told him, whenever there are Jews at dinner, there are going to be speeches. See, but here's the thing. Knowing my brother, he's not planning to retire ever, and his speeches are not very long. We always look to the weekly Torah portion for guidance, for inspiration. In this week's Torah portion, we learn of a special mitzvah. God instructs the Jewish people, when you enter the land and you settle the land and you begin to grow your own produce and your own fields, you will bring the first of your fruit to the Holy Temple. This is one of those mitzvahs that remind us of the importance of gratitude, of being grateful to God for the gifts that He gives us. When we come to the temple and acknowledge the good that He gives us and the assistance that He gives us. Now without Him we could not accomplish it, and show our appreciation to Him. But there's an interesting detail in the mitzvah, a curious detail. God says, do not bring your gifts to the temple until everyone is settled in the land. Anyone know how long it took for the Jewish people to completely settle by the time they divided the land and apportioned the land? Anyone know? 14 years. 14 years. So could you imagine, some settled right away, and for 14 years didn't have to go and show a gift of gratitude. Is that interesting or is that strange? Why would they not be required to come and show their appreciation and thanks to God? True, the temple wasn't built till much later, but there were temporary sanctuary, the Mishkan. Why not do it until everyone was settled? The Lubavitcher Rebbe shared a very interesting insight. In order for one to show gratitude, he is required to come before God and celebrate and be happy. And one cannot fully celebrate, one cannot be fully happy if there are others who are still in need. So they could not fully appreciate this mitzvah, they could not fully enjoy what they had if there were others still in need. And I thought to myself when I was learning this week, how appropriate that we celebrate this week and breaking ground for our new Chabad house that is dedicated to being there and being available for everyone, because we cannot be happy if there are others still in need. At the same time that we're concerned about others, we also have to be concerned about ourselves. our relationship with God. This is a very special time of the year in which we are. We're just a couple of weeks, less than 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. In 2 weeks from today, it'll be almost the end of Rosh Hashanah. In the last month of the year, the last Jewish month of the year, Elul, and every day it's customary to hear the sound of the shofar. I'll ask you to please rise for a moment, and Rabbi David Sable, on behalf of the family, will blow the shofar for us.
Hear it again.
Listen to its sound, absorb it, let it penetrate. The sound of the shofar represents the expression of the soul. It's a simple cry of the soul. You may be seated. On the back of your program, you have a chapter of Psalms from the book of Tehillim, composed by King David. When we gather together, we say a few words of Torah. Our being here is all an act of tzedakah, an act of loving kindness. You in being partners in this tremendous project, and the very project is one of tzedakah, of kindness, of being available for others. I call upon Rabbi Dubrovsky, Director of Chabad of Tampa Bay, to please lead us and join together as we recite this chapter of Psalms.
Speak to you now. Oh, about 8 on what?
How appropriate. The first verse of this chapter is Heidul Adonai ki tov ki le'elam chazdei. Praise the Lord because of its good, for his kindness is everlasting. And God has shown his kindness that we are privileged today to all join in this great event of the groundbreaking. So I'm going to say it in Hebrew and you could repeat it in English. Heidul Adonai ki tov ki le'elam chazdei. Yemano Yisrael ki le'elam chazdei. Yemrano Vesarin ki le'elam chazdei. Yemrano Yireh Adonai ki le'elam chazdei. Min ha'metza karasa ya noni v'merchav ya. Adonai li lo irem hayas li Adam. Adonai li be'ezrei v'ani erev v'seinai. Tev lachzat b'Adonai mimtech ba'Adam. Tev lachzat b'Adonai mimtech b'Divim. Kol goyim sevavuni b'shem Adonai ki amilam. Sabuni gam sevavuni b'shem Adonai ki amilam. Sabuni chedverim deich keshketzim b'shem Adonai ki amilam. Dachet dich esam limpe v'Adonai azoroni. Ozi v'zir misyadi. V'ahil Yeshua, kelchinu Yeshua v'ol tzadikim yemin Adonai oisachayil, yemin Adonai remema, yemin Adonai oisachayil. Lo emes keachye v'asape masayah, yasa yischan yah v'lamovus loidin sanoni. Pischelu yishari tzedek, avivam odiyah, zeh ashal Adonai tzadikim yavoy yavoy. Eitcha kanisoni v'atil Yeshua, eve mos abinim, hoysel l'roshpino, meyes Adonai hoysezos in flos beinenu, Zayem asa Adonai nagilu nism chavoy. Ona Adonai yoshi ona, ona Adonai yatzlich ona. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai berachduch mebeis Adonai. El Adonai v'yon lonu yisru chag b'vis melkanis hamizbeach. Eli atu v'deko l'hayre memeko. Heidul Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chazdei. Levi, lots of luck. I can't wait to the ground opening.
Thank you, Rabbi Dubrovsky. How would you define the word mensch? A mensch? Anyone? I was talking to my brother. My dear brother was telling me that the mayor is a wonderful person. He comes to the menorah lighting every year. I said, big deal. He comes to the menorah lighting every year. He wants people to vote for him. He says, no, but he's retiring from public service. Is that true? I said, you know what? That is a mensch, right? He goes, he's coming not because he wants to. He really is. This. I think this is the difference between a politician and a public servant. Right? Would you agree? My dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to introduce to you Mayor George Predicus. Thank you.
I didn't hear the word mensch the right way initially. And I was hoping I was going to be a good mensch. Is there such a thing? Oh, okay. I apologize. My Hebrew isn't as good as my Greek. But you know, it is really exciting to be here. Because as you understand, being like Criticus, I am of Greek descent. But in our church, the first 2 hours of our services are from the Old Testament. And all we do is read from the Psalms. And one of my favorite was what we were reading today about the Lord blesses. No, wait. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. Today is Constitution Day in the United States. It symbolizes the day that our Constitution was signed. And here we are, bringing together different cultures and different traditions to celebrate what will be a beautiful new building. But it will be more than a building. It will be a house of worship. It will be an opportunity for the community to come together, to praise God, to give thanks to God, and for these children out here to instill in them the importance of faith and of family. And so on behalf of my colleagues on the Clearwater City Council, let me thank y'all for giving us the opportunity to celebrate with you, to give thanks to the Lord. And while I may not be mayor when the building is completed, I hope that Carolyn and I will be invited back so that we can celebrate with y'all. And let me close with an apology. We're not going to be able to stay for the dancing. The last time I danced was 30 years ago at my wedding reception. And so Carolyn and I are meeting some family and friends so that we can celebrate our anniversary. But we wanted to take a moment to be here to also celebrate with them. We also wanted to take a moment to come and celebrate with you, because unless the Lord builds the house, the builders work in vain. Thank you very much.
"28 years ago today, I had a special moment with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We had just finished summer camp. We had come back to the city in Brooklyn, and the Rebbe spoke to the children. We as staff members were fortunate to be there as part of it. The Rebbe spoke to the children, and the mayor mentioned the beauty of the children. One of the things the Rebbe would always do was not only encourage the giving of tzedakah, the giving of charity, but would give people money that they should give tzedakah. And when it came to children, especially these special gatherings, the Rebbe had a special custom. Very often he would give the counselors or the teachers, the leaders of the group, a couple of coins to give to each child, So one they should give to charity, and one for themselves. So my colleagues and I, we approached as the leaders of that particular summer camp, and the Rebbe gave us bundles of dimes and said to give 3 dimes to each child, so they would have to give to charity and also something for themselves. And then the Rebbe looked at us and said, remember to take for yourself as well. And I remember afterwards, my colleagues and I were discussing this, and one of my colleagues said something that I thought was very insightful. I was saying, sometimes you get so busy working with other people, you forget to take care of yourself, be it your material or spiritual needs. And I took that as not only take the dimes for yourself, but when you're busy teaching and sharing and giving, you have to take time for your own spiritual growth as well. But one of my colleagues shared a different thought that I thought was very, very insightful. He said, take for yourself as well. Your focus should be on helping others. Yourself is as well secondary. And as I was driving up here today, I thought to myself, this is my brother, Rabbi Levi. He puts everyone else ahead of his own needs. He takes care of himself as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my brother, Rabbi Levi.
Story is told of the rabbi who fell gravely ill, and as he's laying in the hospital, he receives a visit from the president of the congregation. And the president tells him, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is the board voted that you should have a speedy recovery. The bad news is the vote was 6-5. Marvin, that's why we don't have a board here in Chabad. Miriam and I greatly appreciate your vote of confidence. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the Almighty. Thank you, Hashem, for allowing us to reach this auspicious day. An auspicious day it is. Usually, when we have the opportunity to call a program on our own schedule, we'll try to make it on a Sunday. It's sometimes easier for the community. But today, on this date in the Jewish calendar, exactly 31 years ago, on the 17th of Elul, in the Hebrew year 5748, the Lubavitcher Rebbe himself presided over a groundbreaking of Lubavitch World Headquarters in Brooklyn, New York. And so I could find no other date as special as this when we break ground ourselves for New Chabad, which is an extension of the Rebbe's house at 770 Eastern Parkway. I would like to extend a special thank you to all of you gathered here today, our friends, family members, and fellow Chabad emissaries from around the area. A super special thank you to my mother, who slept all the way from upstate New York. I would like to thank my wife, Rebbetzin Miriam, for taking this journey with me and being my rock as we stand side by side, working as a team to fulfill the Rebbe's vision. Ever since the Jewish people were exiled from the land of Israel 2,000 years ago, the dream and vision of Jewish continuity and survival of Jewish life, rebuilt and reinvigorated, was front and center in the hearts and minds of our people. How could they build a Jewish infrastructure in exile? Ezekiel the prophet, who witnessed this terrible destruction, shares the vision that he receives from God. He says as follows, Ko amar Hashem ki hirchakti b'goyim gvichi hafitzaisim ba'arotzais v'hi lehem lemikdash miyad ba'arotzais asher bo'u sham. So said the Lord, although I have removed them from far off among the nations, and although I have scattered them in the lands, I have become for them a mini sanctuary, a mikdash miyat in the lands where they have come. But what is a mikdash miyat? What is a mini sanctuary? Says the Talmud, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Elu batei knesiyos v'batei midrashei shebevavel. Rabbi Yitzchak said these are the synagogues and study halls the Jewish communities will build in the diaspora. The centers of gathering where Jewish people will assemble to study Torah, to unite in prayer, to experience and celebrate the joyful days and the solemn days, to have a home where Jewish values and social services are taught and provided to the community at large. This is where Jewish life will be conceived. This is where God's presence will shine forth to the rest of the world. This is where the Jewish future lies. After the land of Israel was conquered and the Jewish people nearly vanished, New life began to sprout and take root in small centers of study and education in communities around the world. What we are beginning today is not only a new chapter in the Clearwater community, but adding another beautiful link in a historical chain, connecting us directly with our ancestors and Holy Temple in Jerusalem, one which I am humbled and thankful to be a part of. In 1950, a modest, humble, yet remarkable individual, a man with great spiritual piety, enormous scholarship, and profound love for each and every Jew, and for all people alike, Rabbi Menachem M. Schneerson, universally known as the Rebbe, set out to rebuild a Jewish nation decimated in the Holocaust, and to bring healing and purpose in a place of darkness. The Rebbe inspired young couples to build their lives in towns and cities across the globe, to make this world a better place by awakening the spark within every human being, and to maximize their potential on their life's journey, to share their own love and inspiration with their fellow, to teach and to study, to open Jewish schools and libraries, synagogues, to reach out to the sick, to the elderly, to the poor, by building organizations from the bottom up, where community residents take a leading role in creating and sustaining Jewish programming. Ladies and gentlemen, all across the world, hundreds of millions of dollars have been raised to create important memorials for the Holocaust. Museums and statues from Yad Vashem in Jerusalem to the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington D.C. to our very own Holocaust Memorial here in St. Petersburg. Today, we're setting out to build a living memorial, a place where we do not only remember the Yiddishkeit, the Judaism of the past generation, but where it will live on. Today we can say, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people are alive. To date, there are over 4,000 Chabad Jewish centers around the globe in more than 100 countries. Arrival here at the beginning of 2006, we have been blessed to become like family, with hundreds of men, women, and children. Some of you are here today joining us, who all have the same goal in mind, building a Jewish future. The beauty of Chabad is the diversity. For some, it could mean adult education. For others, it might mean the grand Hanukkah menorah lighting that we have yearly on Clearwater Beach. Chabad is here for everyone, no matter the age, background, or affiliation. Thanks to each and every individual here today, and to so many others across the community who have helped fund and strengthen the activities of Chabad at Clearwater, and this beautiful new edifice that we'll be building, the Feldman Campus for Jewish Life, and the Tabacinic Chabad Center will be able to welcome many, many more individuals, families, and couples, and provide many new and expanded services for young and old and everyone in between. Today we can say, Am Yisrael Chai. Mr. Morris and Lillian Tabacinic of Bal Harbor, Florida, are also lead donors for this project. They were unable to be here today, but we would like to express our greatest thanks and appreciation to them for their wonderful generosity. Also unable to be here today are Mr. and Mrs. Avi Ovaknin, who have committed a significant contribution towards the mikvah, and we thank them as well. You know, in Judaism, a mikvah really takes place before a shul. So what do? You build both. We're building a shul and a mikvah. We cover all our bases. Before I introduce the next speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere thanks to an individual who from our very first meeting has been on board with and has gone over and beyond in his dedication to this project. I'm talking about our extremely talented architect. Please give it up for Mr. Jordan Behar. Thank you so much. Before I introduce the next speaker, I have to give a few thank yous to all those who helped prepare today's event, and that goes to the Rebbitzin, obviously, and Barbara and George, Lynn's Catering of Tampa, Rowie, Azoviv, the band, and all those who helped to put this wonderful event together. We thank you so much for doing that. At a recent meeting of the area's top Jewish fundraisers, there was a roundtable discussion during which each fundraiser got up to say something about their top donors. One leader got up and said his top donors are so great that whenever he calls them and asks for a specific amount, the donors say, consider it done, and then they send in a check for more than they were asked for. The next individual got up and says, my top donors, when they ask to take them out to lunch, to hit them up for a donation, not only do they give me a donation, but they also pick up the tab for the lunch. Finally, a third gets up. You know, I can tell you about something very funny. My top donors, they never walked into my institution. For all they know, I could have a P.O. box, but whenever I send them a solicitation, they respond right away and generously. All of a sudden, the door opens up, and who do we see? Marvin and Linda Feldman. And they say, that's them! My dear friends, the only thing not true about this story is that Marvin and Linda Feldman don't support only 3 organizations, but many, many more, and God should help you and bless you that you should always be on the giving end until 120 in good health. I think it's safe to say that there's no local Jewish organization that has not at one time or another been a beneficiary of their philanthropy. The Jewish community of Pinellas County is very fortunate to have the Feldmans, and everyone can and should learn from them what it means and how it means to give charity. Chabad of Clearwater is honored and humbled that Marvin and Linda jumped onto this project to partner with us as lead donors, and we will forever be grateful to you for that. All right, I see Marvin's getting a bit easy. Marvin, I cut it down. I promise you I cut it down. There was a lot more over here. He's getting uneasy over there. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to invite to the podium my dear friend, Marvin Feldman, to share a few words. Not now. When we have
Linda, remind me never to follow him. I guess it was the middle of last week, and Rabbi called me up on the phone, and he says, I don't want you to get too excited, I don't want you to get nervous, but I want you to say a few words at the groundbreaking. And so the first thing I said was, no, I'm not going to do it. But any of you that know the rabbi knows that he's a pretty intelligent guy. Thank you. Thank you. You know he's a fairly intelligent guy, but he doesn't understand what no means. So what he wants, he gets. So I decided I would say a few things. And I guess I get tired of the same old speeches that people give, and I decided to try something a little different, and I hope it works. I decided to tell you why I think it's important that we build this building and why the building will deserve our support. This place is Chabad. I am not. I'm an unobservant Jew. The rabbi valiantly makes efforts daily to change me. But after 80 years, I've decided that it's not going to change. I'm just who I am. I wear a yarmulke sometimes. I wear it when we go to shul. I wear it when we go to a cemetery. And I wear it when somebody invites me to Shabbat dinner. But those are the only times I wear it. My house is not kosher. But when my glatt kosher daughter Beth comes to visit from Canada, we drag out the kosher pots, the kosher pans, and for a week, the house takes on the flavor of a kosher home. The only time I put on tefillin is when he drops in, he, the rabbi, and makes me do it. And I say no, but like I said, it's him. When it's done, I'm happy, and I'm glad I did it. Thank you. So that's me. I'm a typical, unobservant Jew, but I'm still a Jew. and the rest of the world will never, ever let me forget. I was bar mitzvahed when I was a kid. They did it on a Thursday morning. They did it on Thursday because I didn't know the prayers well enough to do it on Shabbos, and they were embarrassed. So they let me do it on a Thursday. But after the service, my Zeta brought out a bottle of schnapps and a square cake, a brown bread cake of some kind, and I was an adult. Well, unfortunately, I still don't know the prayers. But I remember sitting next to my Zeta in Shul on Simchas Torah and Rosh Hashanah, and I remember the feeling that I belonged there. Later on years, I remember walking up to the wall in Jerusalem. I once again had that feeling that I belonged there. I had the feeling that I was coming home. The feeling of coming home also comes to me in this place, in this building. It comes to me when the rabbi, his head covered with his tallis, mouths the words of the Amida. So that's what this is. This is a place to come home to. It's a place where the common memory of the Jewish people, a memory that lives in all of us, is awakened by one man, totally alone with God, under his tallis. Here we will bring our children to usher them into adulthood. It'll be a place to bring our children when they grow older under the chuppah, to start new families and create new memories. It'll be a place to find comfort after losing a loved one. It'll be a place to add our own feelings and thoughts to the common memory of the Jewish people. Rabbi Hadakov's done an incredible job of raising the funds to make this place happen, but he needs help to finish the job. There's no dues here. We don't collect money to come in the door. There's no membership. Anyone can come in, but somehow we've got to pay the bills. So today I'm asking each of you to dig deep into your hearts, find that common memory, and do whatever you can to help the rabbi keep it alive. Help him finish the job. Help him build this place. Thank you.
Marvin, you have 3 years, and to commemorate the 70th anniversary of your bar mitzvah, we're going to do it here on Shabbos. All right, you guys heard that. Save the date. I'd like to invite up Marvin and Linda and the Rebbetzin and the mayor as we now will break the ground for the Feldman Campus for Jewish Life and the Tabacinic Chabad Center here in Clearwater, Florida.
I would like to have, okay, how are we going to do this? No. You want to have it like that? Take yourself a window, take yourself a Marvin,
pass it to the medicine. Okay. All right, everyone, turn around the area. Huh? The rock is going to go after you first. You have to make the ground. Okay. Let's put the shovel in. Okay. Let's smile at Jim. All right. Now let's dig deep. All right. 1, 2, 3. Let's lift up the dirt. Then let's break the ground. Mazel tov. Three shovels.
Mazel tov.
And 3. Okay. I would now like to ask Marvin and Linda, you stay up here. I would like to ask the next generation, Mark, Stacy, and Jeff, to please join Marvin and Linda and please place the cornerstone in the earth. Miriam, we're off the hook now. We're not leaving up to the We're off the hook. Yeah. You have a yarmulke, you gotta get your yarmulke. I'll lend you one, you do it better than me. Or if you want, you take the hard hat.
Put the head on. Put the head.
No, you can leave the shovel. It's a heavy stone. It's a heavy stone, so you guys will all need to do it together. No, it's very heavy. It's very heavy. Everyone should help, please. All of you together, we need to lay the foundation stone right in the middle. Okay, will you stop for a picture before you put it down? Look at Jim, please. Not at me, at Jim. All right, and I'll put it down right on in the middle of the dirt that we dug. Mazel tov. Hit the music. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the official program. Dinner is